The detective runs through the darkened warehouse, gun drawn, weaving between stacks of crates as he follows the sound of heavy, thumping footsteps. Up ahead, a flash of yellow, a jaundiced face ducking around a corner. He raises his weapon and fires. Up ahead, the perp cries out in pain. Don't! He takes a step toward the body, now limp on the ground, bulbous eyes glassy, a pink frosted donut clutched in his stiffening hand. How did he get here? How did it come to this? It all started with a file. Nobody's got a damn idea what to make of this. The detective looks up from his lukewarm cup of bitter coffee at the sound of his superior officer's voice, just in time to see the man slap a file down onto the desk in front of him. See if you can figure it out, eh, whiz kid? He's so tired of that nickname. Sure, he's the youngest detective at the precinct, with record-breaking test scores out of the police academy, but that should make people take him more seriously, not less. Right? He doesn't object, though. He learned that lesson on his first day. Better to just let his actions speak louder than his words, and show his worth via thorough police work. And if this file was about a case no one could crack, then he would have to be the one to crack it. Sure, I'll take a look. He waits for the other man to leave, takes an immediately regrettable sip of that terrible break room coffee, and opens the file. For once, he's grateful for the unimpressive temperature of the beverage, because as soon as his eyes land on the crime scene photos, he spits it out in shock. The deceased is a businessman in his mid-30s, according to the case file. No mention of any unusual medical conditions, and the toxicology report came back clean. He died from accidental head trauma after he slipped on the stairs of his apartment complex. All in all, it shouldn't be an unusual case or even cause for police investigation in the first place. But those pictures, they tell a different story, even though the young detective still isn't quite sure what that story is. The victim, if he can be called that in an apparently accidental death, is jaundiced to the point of his skin taking on a cartoonish yellow hue. He is completely bald, in spite of reports that only weeks prior to his death, he had a full head of hair. And his eyes, they're wide open, but that isn't all. They bulge out of his skull in the most severe case of proptosis that the detective has ever seen. The victim's eyes aren't just open. He couldn't have closed them if he wanted to. The detective feels a bit queasy and a little bit ashamed of himself. He can't help but think that the man in these pictures, this poor deceased man, looks just like Homer Simpson. But before we go any further, I have a question for you. Does something feel wrong with you? Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world who's going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, and this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/DrBob. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with the therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost, without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/DrBob. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. But as I was saying about Homer Simpson, that does it. This must be a prank. The other detectives wanted to play a trick on the whiz kid. Well, he doesn't find it funny. He marches into the police captain's office to complain about the hazing, but is shocked to find that this is no prank. The captain assures him that no, this case is all too real. The unusual transformations that the victim's body underwent before his death had the department concerned about foul play. Perhaps the presence of some sort of chemical weapon or other poison that is undetectable on tox screenings. Whatever happened to this unfortunate man, it's the detective's job to get to the bottom of it. No matter how absurd it may seem, it is quite serious, and there's a chance that more people could die if they don't solve this mystery. First things first, the detective needs to investigate the crime scene. He travels to the dead businessman's apartment and lets himself in. It's been a few days since CSI came through here, and it's unlikely he'll spot anything they missed, but better safe than sorry. The place smells musty and foul, like body odor mixed with old pizza, spilled beer soaking into the carpet, and stale donuts. Aside from the unpleasant smell, it looks relatively normal. No signs of a struggle, just like the report said. He checks the bedroom first, then the kitchen, the bathroom, and then he's back in the living room. Just a couch, a coffee table, and a television in here. Wait, what's that? On the cable box, a strange marking catches his eye. The detective takes a closer look and sees that there is an arcane symbol carved into the cable box. He snaps a picture of the symbol, reminding himself to look it up later. Then he picks up the remote and switches on the television. Might as well check out the channel the victim watched before he died. The screen lights up and fills the room with a soft blue glow. What channel is this? In the corner of the screen, there's no number, only the letter X. Channel X? The detectives never heard of it, and there was no mention of it or the symbol anywhere in the case file. It's not much, but it's a good start. He switches the TV back off and heads back to the station to look into these new leads. The bizarre case is just getting stranger and stranger, with no real answers in sight. Back at the station, he calls around to various television providers. None of them know anything about this Channel X. They don't provide it, and they've never even heard of it. He can't find much on the symbol either. He does a reverse image search, but the only mention of it he comes across is a post on a tech support forum, advising viewers to fix their broken cable box by reconnecting the wires and carving this symbol into the side with a knife. There's no way that would work, right? But then again, the victim's television turned on, even though the building had suspended its cable service. This was all just too weird. The detective slumps back in his seat, cradling his head in his hands. Even his leads are turning into cul-de-sacs. What else could he possibly try? He's just about to call it a night and head home when his phone begins to ring. He picks up, and a beat cop on the other side stammers, "Hey, you're the guy investigating that Simpsons case, right? Because I think you're going to want to see this." The cop on the phone gives the detective an address and advises him to come right away. He's not sure what could possibly be waiting for him there. After all, nothing could be stranger than those crime scene photos, right? When he arrives, the outside of the house is blocked off with crime scene tape. So that's it. They've found another body, one like the first victim. Well, not exactly like the first victim. As soon as he crosses the threshold of the house, he spots it. That same sickly yellow complexion, like no human being has ever looked, save for the one victim he's already seen. He can see photographs on the wall of the house's resident, now former resident. She was once an olive-skinned woman with long, wavy dark hair. Now, lying on the floor of her kitchen, she is unrecognizable as the same person. Her skin is yellowed, her eyes bulging out of her head in that same haunting way. She isn't bald like the previous victim, though. Her hair coiled into a mass of tight curls, shooting straight up from the crown of her head in an exaggerated beehive style. And the color, it's bright blue. The detective covers his mouth in horror, his stomach turning. It can't be. But it is. This new victim, she looks just like Marge Simpson. What sort of sick, adult animation-obsessed mind could be behind this? After examining the body, the detective begins to inspect the crime scene. Again, no signs of foul play, but it just can't be a coincidence. Two people don't just transform into hideous real-life cartoons, members of the same family at that, and drop dead in the same week. It just doesn't happen. The victim in the previous case hadn't shown up for work in weeks. Apparently, the same was true for this new victim too. Her friends and family hadn't heard from her in several weeks, aside from the occasional text message stating that she was fine, just a bit under the weather. The transformation must have taken place during that time. The detective is just about to leave the crime scene and head back to the station when an impulse hits him. Check the cable box. He rushes to the box and finds the same symbol carved in with a knife. There is something terrible happening here. He knows it. Once he puts the puzzle pieces together, he'll understand exactly what, but he's beginning to get the feeling that it won't be a pretty picture. First things first, he needs to go home and get some sleep. Then in the morning, he can start trying to track down the origins of this symbol and this mysterious Channel X. He wakes up the next morning with fresh eyes and a renewed sense of determination. Whoever's behind this, they can't keep getting away with it. He won't let them. He knows he should play this by the book, should work within the department to solve the case, but playing by the book hasn't gotten any of his superiors anywhere with this mystery yet. He calls up an old friend from college, a young man that has gone into the field of, well, to put it politely, computer hacking activities that are somewhat outside of the law. Knowing it could very well be jeopardizing the future of his career, he sends the information over, the crime scene photos, the symbol, and the information on Channel X. As soon as the hacker sees the crime scene photos, he offers to help do whatever he can to uncover the facts of the case. He'll get to work immediately and report back when he has any new information on Channel X or the symbol. If the detective was expecting a slow morning at the precinct, he was sorely mistaken. He's barely stepped 1 foot through the door before he is pulled aside by the captain. The case has escalated again. Early this morning, another body was discovered. That's now 3 victims in 1 week. They still can't prove foul play, but there are rumors among the officers that this could be some sort of serial killer. The detective had better skip coffee and get his butt to the crime scene. Who knows how many more lives could be at stake? He arrives on the scene, brow dotted with nervous sweat, hands clammy and shaky. What awaits him inside? Another Homer? Another Marge? A Bart? A Lisa? Or, God forbid, Maggie? Nothing could prepare him for what he sees next. The victim is an adult man, 40 years old. He was a personal trainer and local football coach, but you'd never know it to look at him now. His skin shares that unnatural yellow pallor, of course, but he has features the other victims lacked. His previous muscle tone appears to have dissolved, leaving him leaner, almost scrawny. His previously shaven head is topped with neatly combed brown hair. He has a matching mustache above his upper lip, and on his face, in spite of his supposed 20/20 vision, he has a pair of glasses. CSI attempted to remove the glasses before the detective arrived and found that they were fused to his face, as if they had grown out of his skin. The same goes for his sweater, a sweater that none of the man's loved ones has ever seen him wear before. It seems to be part of his very skin. There's no mistaking it. This burly, gruff man has transformed into Ned Flanders, and now he's dead. How long is this going to go on? How many people will lose their identities, their very selves, and then their lives? He used to love The Simpsons, used to laugh and laugh and laugh at Bart telling people to eat his shorts, at Homer being unqualified to work around nuclear material, and at Lisa being smarter than all of them. But now, it all seems tainted. There's only one way to keep this city safe and reclaim the magic of The Simpsons from whoever has corrupted it in this way. He needs to track down the creator of Channel X and stop them for good. No matter what it takes, but right now he feels like Sideshow Bob, stepping on the same rake over and over again. He needs some fresh intel to break the cycle. As if in answer to his silent prayer, his cell phone rings. The hacker! He answers right away, hoping for a bit of good news. So that symbol, you weren't kidding. Seems like it popped up out of nowhere. Same with this channel. I wasn't able to trace the broadcast, I'm sorry. But I've got some good news too. The only person who ever posted that symbol, the forum post you told me about, I was able to trace their IP address. It was uploaded from an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. According to some neighborhood chatter apps, folks have heard strange sounds coming from that warehouse over the prior month. I'm no cop, but I'm willing to bet that's the origin of the broadcast, and that's where you'll find your guy. The detective jots down the address and promises to buy the hacker a burger next time they see each other, if he makes it out of his confrontation with the mastermind alive, at least. He briefly considers waiting until nightfall and trying to sneak in, but if he waits that long, the culprit might realize that the detective is closing in on him, and there could be another victim by then. No, there's no time to waste. Forget about doing this by the book. He's always been more of a TV guy anyway. He takes his own car, better to avoid setting off any alarm bells that might come with the sight of a police car pulling up to the warehouse. As he steps out of the car, he gets his weapon ready and sizes up the place. It really is abandoned. It looks like it hasn't been used in a decade. But there, on the roof, he can just barely make out some sort of TV antenna. This is definitely the place. Now, what to do? He racks his brain, trying to remember his training. They didn't exactly train him for situations like this. What if he's wrong about the broadcast being responsible and it's some kind of chemical weapon after all? What if he busts down the door and finds himself exposed to the same agent, transformed into a resident of Springfield and doomed forever? Well, that's the sort of risk he signed on for when he joined the force, he supposes. There's no going back. He creeps around to the back entrance of the warehouse, winds up, and breaks it down with his shoulder. It takes a moment for his eyes to adjust to the darkness inside, but when they do, he can still barely find his way. The place is packed with junk, with empty crates and scrap metal piled up to the ceiling. He'll have to move carefully, lest he knock one of the piles over and find himself caught in an avalanche. He weaves through the labyrinth, following the vague blue glow of a television screen somewhere up ahead. Soon enough, he reaches the source of the light. There, he finds a VHS player, a TV, and a bunch of broadcasting equipment he can't identify. On the TV, an episode of The Simpsons is playing, one he's never seen before. It seems familiar at first, but something is off about it. The characters keep looking right at him, staring down the barrel of the camera and locking eyes with the detective. It seems impossible, but then again, so has everything about this case so far. As the detective watches, transfixed for a moment, he sees Homer grab Ned Flanders by the collar and drown him in a swimming pool. This is wrong. This isn't the show he knows and loves. This is corrupted. That's it. This has to be the broadcast those poor people saw. All he has to do is shut it off, and he can stop this once and for all. He's so preoccupied with switching the television off, with pulling the tape out of the VCR and smashing it on the ground, he doesn't hear someone creeping up behind him with big, lumbering footsteps. He doesn't realize there's someone else there until he feels the beer bottle break across the back of his head. The detective wobbles, but he doesn't go down. He whirls around, drawing his weapon, and chases after his assailant. The man who attacked him is already running, and the detective can't get a good look at him in the dark warehouse, but he can make out a portly silhouette, a bald head, and that same yellowed complexion as the victims. There's no doubt about it. This must be the man responsible for broadcasting the signal. He's been transformed by his own creation. Or his discovery? Once he's been properly arrested, the detective can get some answers. He hopes. But he's getting woozy from that blow to the head with the bottle, and his vision is swimming as he gives chase through the maze of empty crates that line the warehouse. If he can't stop this guy before he passes out, it'll all be over. The mastermind will pack up and find a new location. He'll keep the broadcast going until the change destroys him too. And who knows how many more lives will be lost. No, he won't let it happen like this. He won't. He pushes through the dizziness, narrowing his eyes, watching for any motion in the dark. Up ahead, a flash of yellow, the glint of light on a shiny, bald head. There he is. He rounds the corner, and the man, who now looks just like his first victim, is waiting with another beer bottle clutched in his fist. In his other hand, he holds a donut with a big bite taken out of it. For a moment, the detective hesitates. It feels a bit like he's attacking his own childhood. But no, this isn't Homer. This is a mockery of everything Homer stands for, of everything that The Simpsons represented to the young detective, of everything it still represents to him now. He raises his weapon and pulls the trigger. The strange man cries out, "No!" and collapses to the ground. That's it. It's all over. In the coming days, no more yellow bodies turn up. Channel X has vanished from the airwaves. The detective's hacker friend does him one more favor and scrubs all mentions of the channel and that symbol from the internet. The detective brought in all of the broadcasting equipment and the remains of the tape to the precinct, but some men claiming to be with the FBI came by and confiscated it. Their badges looked a little bit funny, but the detective had decided not to ask too many questions. Something in their expressions told him these gentlemen knew how to handle unusual cases like this. Now it's time for him to turn in his report to the captain. He hands him the file and receives a hearty congratulations. "We all know you can do it, WizKid. Nice work. What's next for you?" "Well, Captain, the detective says thoughtfully. I'm not sure why, but I could really use a donut.
Check out the Dr. Bob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Homer. I mean Dr. Bob, like SCP-1048, Builder Bear.